is your local election headquarters.
Welcome back to This Week in Louisiana Politics. You know, before the break, we were talking to pollster John Couvion about his research, which indicates that Louisiana's inactive voter list has gotten a lot bigger. Of course, that raised some questions for us, and who better to answer those questions? The person who is in charge of Louisiana's elections. That would be Louisiana Secretary of State Nancy Landry. She joins us now. Secretary Landry, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, Fred.
You bet. So let's talk about this inactive voter list. First of all, why did it grow?
Well, as you may know, keeping our voter list clean is paramount to having election integrity, and it's one of the priorities of my office to keep our voter rolls as clean as they can possibly be. And in 2024, the legislature passed a bill that allowed us to, in addition to the normal list maintenance that we do every year, it allowed us to also send an address confirmation card to any voters who have not voted or had contact with our office for 10 or more years. And so the additional confirmation cards sent to these voters have identified some voters that may not be with us anymore, may have moved or passed away, and so those voters were moved to the inactive list. In addition to that, we have enhanced data that we use now. We used to use the post office change of address information, and we found that that has not been very accurate in the past few years. So we have enhanced data that we use now that was recommended by the Election Assistance Commission. And we have access to federal data that we've never had access to before. So all of those things combined have allowed us to clean our voter rolls even more than we have in the past.
So, Secretary Landry, we know the implications of, and talking to John Couvion, the implications on party registration. He talked about Republicans having a plurality now, but I wanted to drill down on what the impact is on the individual voter. If you land on this list of inactive voters, can you still vote?
Absolutely. You can still vote. You just have to confirm your address with the elections commissioner before you vote. And then your information will be updated and you'll be moved back to the active list. And if you don't vote, though, once being moved to the inactive list, if you don't vote for 2 federal election cycles, then you can be canceled and you would have to re-register if you're actually still a resident of the state.
So how many inactive voters do we have currently?
Currently, we have approximately 420,000 inactive voters in Louisiana, and that's a significant increase from last year because of the expanded list maintenance that we're doing now.
Now, this legislation was pushed in other administrations before. This was part of your election security push, and it wasn't signed into law. It was just now signed into law. Now that you see it in action, is this doing what you wanted it to do?
Absolutely. We had estimated that it would identify about 180 voters who possibly have passed away or moved out of the state because they have not had any activity in over 10 years. And so that is what we found. It identified about 137,000 of this 420,000 inactive voters came from this expanded canvas that we did. And so that, in addition to checking with other states to see if people have moved to those states and registered to vote there, that has helped us to clean our voter rolls and make sure that we only have qualified eligible voters on our rolls.
All right, all great information. Unfortunately, we've run out of time. Secretary of State Nancy Landry, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me, Fred. Anytime.
All right, stay with us. We'll be right back.